The Lupanaria of ancient Rome. How Roman brothels actually worked. In ancient Rome, very few topics were considered taboo, and sexuality definitely wasn't one of them. Prostitution wasn't illegal. In fact, it was seen as a normal part of urban life. Brothels, known as Lupanaria, from the Latin lupa, meaning she-wolf, a slang term for prostitute, were common throughout the Roman Empire. They served men of all classes, from slaves to senators. Lupanaria were usually located in busy commercial or port districts, near taverns, markets, bathhouses, and other popular gathering places. The most famous example is the Brothel of Pompeii, remarkably preserved after the eruption of Vesuvius. It featured 10 small rooms, each with a stone bed, and erotic frescoes on the walls depicting sexual acts. The interiors were cramped and utilitarian. Furnishings were minimal, just stone platforms with straw or thin mats. The walls were decorated with erotic paintings, not only for ambiance, but also as a kind of visual menu of available services. Sometimes names of prostitutes or prices were written above the door to each room. Brothels were privately owned businesses. Their owners could be free men or women. Prostitutes paid rent for a room or gave a share of their earnings to the owner. The profession required registration with local officials called aediles. Sex workers operated openly, stood outside the entrances to attract clients, and didn't hide what they did for a living. Women, men, and boys, often slaves or former slaves, worked in the Lupanaria. Some were sold into prostitution by parents or masters. A female slave could buy her freedom if she saved enough money. There are documented cases of this. Prostitutes didn't have the rights of free Roman women. They were banned from wearing covered hairstyles and were required to dress provocatively to remain visible. Prostitution wasn't seen as immoral. Romans considered it a practical part of life. What mattered was maintaining public order. You couldn't harass boys from noble families, disrupt citizens, or cause scenes. The shame wasn't in working at a brothel, but in taking a passive sexual role as a free Roman man. Lupanaria appeared in satire, poetry, and comedies. They became part of the Roman urban mythology. Even the legend of Romulus and Remus, nursed by a she-wolf, may have had a double meaning, with lupa referring to both a wolf and a prostitute. With the rise of Christianity, attitudes toward prostitution began to change. By the 4th century CE, laws started restricting or banning brothels. Over time, prostitution went underground and came to be seen as sinful rather than a trade. Lupanaria weren't just brothels. They were a structured social institution within the Roman city, complete with rules, hierarchy, and economic function. Romans treated them as a normal, regulated part of urban life. And while many details might shock modern audiences, to the Romans, it was all just practical reality. Now you know more. Give us a like and subscribe to support the channel.